I need to film this haul because I want to use the things that I bought. If you didn't know, I recently went to Japan for 3 weeks on holiday. I went to Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and then Tokyo again, not in that order, and various other places along the way. And I picked up more than a few things. It wasn't accidental. I came with a half-empty suitcase packed into another empty suitcase, and then knowing that I had hand baggage allowance and like a backpack to bring on board. So I had a lot of space for things, and I knew I was going to bring home a lot of stuff, but I think I did pretty well. I had various thoughts about how to organize this. I thought at first to just do it all chronologically, but I thought if I did it by category, at least then you could skip to the category that interests you. In this video in particular, we have knitting supplies, so yarn, we have fabric, we have sewing notions. I'm going to do a separate video for everything I thrifted and like the fashion stuff, just because there's a lot in that. And I do also have some thoughts about thrifting in Japan. I've consumed a lot of media around thrifting in Japan, and so like I just kind of want to add my thoughts to that space, and I think that would just be too much for one video. If my hair is mental, it's because I just washed it, and let's just get into it. Oh, and like big disclaimer, I know this is like a lot of stuff. This is a holy amount of consumerism. Justifications for these are I've wanted to go to Japan since I was a very young girl. I've always been obsessed with Japan, and a lot of the souvenirs especially, and like the just the pretty objects or things that I look for when I'm thrifting and when I'm buying things in general, and it's very like it's very aligned with my style and my like decor perspective. So I did kind of feel like I was in just like a wonderland whilst I was there, and so I definitely picked up more than I would have otherwise. Also, Japan is one of those places where it just seems to have like the world's best everything, like the world's best knives and scissors and the stationery and this and that, and so it felt very difficult to be like, oh, I'll not buy this somewhere else. Also, final disclaimer is that I have recently moved house, so I was actually in the market for a lot of kitchenware, ceramics, that kind of thing, and yeah, it just happened to coincide with this trip. So don't hate me for the amount of stuff that I bought, but I don't regret it. I just am a little bit lighter on the wallet. Oh, and if we haven't met before, my name is Nadia. On this channel, I make content about sewing and knitting primarily, but there's some fashion and like home design stuff sprinkled in there as well. If that's not your bag, don't worry, just enjoy the video. We are briefly becoming a Japan travel channel since this trip, but I think after a few videos, we will revert swiftly back to regular programming. I think let's start off with the yarn. It's the category that I think the most of you are going to be interested in. It's also the smallest category. I didn't actually buy that much yarn. Two things going on here. I think I have a very large stash that I really want to start getting through and feel quite overwhelmed by. So I felt a little bit hesitant to add more to that stash. And I also don't covet Japanese yarn in the same way that I like really enjoy like Scandi yarn, for example. So it wasn't necessarily the thing that I was the most excited by. They do have noro. I did buy a few things of noro, but I also didn't really find the noro that I was looking for. I think I was kind of looking for like a variegated neutral, and there was a lot of bright colors, which is what noro is very good at. But yeah, I didn't specifically find the noro that really makes my heart sing. I also already have 2 sweaters quantity of noro in stash that I need to get through, so I didn't really feel like I needed to bring a lot more in. All of that to say, start off with my first purchase. Let's take it out of the packaging because otherwise it will crinkle. I love that it's like covered in dog hair without ever having met my dogs. This is a ball of, actually don't know the name, Tenson by Noro. It's just one ball. I didn't have a lot of ideas of what I wanted to make with it, so I just got the one. But these like dragon egg Noro things are really hefty in terms of yardage. This is 300 meters. So I think, you know, there's still quite a lot of possibilities. It's beautiful. It's Noro. I think it's a primarily silk yarn, 68% silk, and then the rest is wool. And I was thinking of like maybe just knitting like one sleeve or like one panel of a jumper in this, and then sort of mixing it with a more neutral yarn. I liked the colors. I bought this in Okudaya in Shinjuku, which is that 4-story, 5-story, I don't know how many story craft shop in Shinjuku that's quite famous. They had a pretty good selection of noro, but yeah, this was the one that stood out to me. Then if we're going chronologically, I think this is next. I picked this up in Osaka. I can't wait until I butcher every single Japanese name. This is Masuzakiya in Osaka. It's like kind of like an older style, quite small little yarn shop that's tucked up next to the Osaka version of Kapibashi Street, where all the ceramics are. It's right close to there, quite close to Namba, so it's very, very central. And I bought 2 balls of yarn here. Unsurprisingly, 2 noros. I got 1 skein of, oh, I didn't do prices. So I like hid all the receipts because I was a little bit terrified of getting stopped by customs. But I did actually write down a lot of what everything cost. This I think was around in the 2,900 yen range. I'll have to look it up and maybe put prices on screen. But it's approximately about £15, which for like a dragon egg noro is like half the cost of what it would be here, especially for like a silk yarn. So the price of this was pretty good. 2 balls of just another 2 singular balls of noro, because again, I didn't really feel like I had like many ideas about what I wanted to knit with them, and I didn't really feel like a sweater's quantity in either was necessary. This is Silk Garden Sock Solo. I've knit with this before. I also have a sweater's quantity of this in stash. It's again 300 meters, so a little will go a long way. And what's the color? I think they have color names like maybe on the website, but I don't know what this one is. This is 212. It's kind of like a pinky red with sort of, I mean, specks. It's noro, so it's lots of specks. And I thought this could be quite a cute accessory, maybe like a skinny scarf or something like that. And then I got a ball of the crayon. I just really liked the colors in this one. I think with noro it's deceptive because I think the colors on the top are not necessarily the colors that are the whole way through the yarn, so you really have to like look in the center. But yeah, I was just really digging this like lime green, purple, blue, like periwinkle situation. And again, I think this maybe like mixed in as like a stripe in a jumper or something, just like one little color block situation, I think would be really good. This is color 474. The crayon was about 1,000 yen, so about a $5, pretty good. And then the Silk Garden Sock Solo was 2,700 yen, so roughly translates to, yeah, like £14, something like that. I'm converting into pounds. I think I found the exchange rate to convert was the easiest to do it to that, but yeah, just take the yen prices and convert to your own currency at will. These were my 2 small purchases from the yarn shop in Osaka. I did go craft shopping in Kyoto, but I didn't really find anything yarn-wise that I was interested in. They have a walnut in Tokyo and they have a walnut in Kyoto, and I didn't go to the one in Kyoto, but I went to the one in Tokyo. They're great. They're like the closest to like a bougie local yarn store. I didn't actually find that much like Japanese yarn in them. I found a lot of like, there was a lot of imported like Scandi yarn or a lot of American yarn, a lot of like Malabrigo and stuff like that. So I wasn't super interested in picking up imported yarns in Japan. I did go to Knitting Bird Tokyo on the second leg of the trip, and then I did pick up a cone of yarn. I definitely wasn't expecting it to be this big. I asked for 500 grams and I think I just like don't know what 500 grams is. It's 1,000 meters per 50 grams, so it's 1,000 meters per 500 grams, so I have approximately a sweater's quantity here. This is a, I'm gonna try and see if I can find like a, like where does the yarn start? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it's, put my hand in front of it. Yeah, it's a mohair boucle yarn. They had, the Knitting Bird Tokyo has lots of like cones, and you can ask them to sort of wind them up onto cones like this. And I think they're primarily for like commercial or like knitting machine, and that's why they do everything on the cone. They had a lot of very beautiful things here, but again, I have a lot of things in stash. I was just really drawn to this mohair though, this boucle, particularly because of the composition. It's 78% mohair, 13% wool, and 9% nylon, which I assume is the core or whatever makes it boucle. But I thought it was quite a good composition for boucle because a lot of them contain alpaca, and I'm not a massive fan of alpaca. And yeah, I think because I was thrifting a lot, and I was like looking at a lot of designers like Comme des Garçons and Issey Miyake and Yohji Yamamoto, and like all of these sort of like dark like alternative brands. I was really like feeling black, like I was really just in a like black mood, and yeah, I just really fell in love with this color and this yarn. And also, like, a lot of people in Japan wear a lot of black. I think if you like walk around in the streets, you can really see that like everyone is just wearing black all the time. I was influenced by my surrounds and picked up this. This was 5,500 yen, so about £25 for the cone for a sweater's quantity of mohair boucle. I think that's pretty good. If it's 200 meters per 100 grams, then it's a fingering weight, right? But I think because it's boucle, it will sort of fill out a lot. I could probably knit it like a sport or a DK gauge. My plan with this, really ambitious, but I would love to make some sort of like woven, I don't know how I'm going to explain this, as a jumper that's like knit in panels, in vertical and like horizontal panels. And then woven together like the warp and the weft of like a woven fabric. There's this jumper by Cause that I've seen around that I really, really like, and it's sort of that concept. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, because you're weaving it, I probably have enough to make like half of the jumper. But I think what could be really cool is knitting with another black yarn, and then doing the vertical or like the horizontal panels in one yarn, and then the vertical panels in another yarn, and have them both be in black, and then I guess you're seaming together at the side seams and like at the shoulders, and knitting a collar as usual to create a jumper. But yeah, I also thought that the vertical panels could be different lengths. And I also thought that it could be quite transportable, because you're just essentially knitting like long strips of fabric, and you don't have to do it all at once. You just kind of have to calculate the length that you need. So that was my plan for that. Yeah, I'm pleased with this. The ladies in Knitting Bird were very, very nice. They said that they ship internationally, if you're interested. So do check them out. Doesn't smell of anything. None of the yarns in Japan smelt of anything, which I felt was a bit sad. Then, randomly, there's multiple like dollar stores in Japan. There's Daiso is the most famous one. There's also Syria. Mostly everything is 100 yen. So that's crazy. Like that's like 50p. So I guess it is like a pound shop, but just cheaper. But still, I was just like, 100 yen? Really? That's nothing. And I saw these balls of like this like raffia style, quite thick. I think a lot of this like raffia paper yarn is often like a lot thinner, but this one seems like it's like a fingering weight at least. The yardage was tiny, 33 meters per 20 grams, and these are 20 grams. So I got 8 of them, and that does not mean that I'm very good at maths. I think with 8 of them I have about 250 meters, which I think is enough for some kind of like weird raffia knitted bag type thing. Petite Knit does a load of different versions of this kind of thing. I think is it the Clio bag, I think is the one that interests me the most. Usually she uses like the, what's it called, the Japan's mold, the Japanese cotton. The Izzier yarn that's like super thin and is like a version of this, held like double or triple. I think this is a good like substitute for that. And I also got it in black, lots of black. Yeah, these were 100 yen each, 800 yen in total, and then £4 in total. I think that's a pretty good deal, even though the yardage is like very small. So this I got in the, I think it's called the Kanda Craft Store. I don't know what the Japanese name for it is. It's mostly I think it's mostly wholesale, but they run like a for the public shop. If you have a membership card, it's cheaper. I think you can get discounts on multiple different things. So I think it's like maybe only like 10%. I don't think it's crazy, but you can still get some pretty good deals with the membership card. I don't know what you need to do to get a membership card. I don't think it's that complicated. But yeah, they had a lot of cool stuff here. They had a lot of noro, and they had these like bags of crayon like sweater quantities for about 7,000 yen, or like a little bit less than that, which is like 35 quid. Like 10 balls of crayon. So yeah, I think if you're really interested in picking up noro, I would definitely think about heading there, because they did have some very good prices on things. Now I got 4 balls of this yarn, which is not usually something that I go for, but especially because it's like, I think it's primarily alpaca. Yeah, WP is alpaca 75%, and then the wool is 25%. So it's a 100% natural fiber, and it's also undyed, which is really cool. They only had 4 of this color, which is why I only picked up 4. But they're 25 grams. It's like some kind of fuzzy, some kind of fuzzy yarn. I think it's like a grayish brown, like that kind of like undyed grayish brown. It's quite dark. And there's 125 meters in each, which is about 500 meters total for the 4 balls. Again, I was thinking like maybe like if I held it with something else, I think this is a fingering weight, I could do like a vest or something in that vicinity. It's just really soft, and it was just really lovely. And they had a sample that used like the gradient of all of the different natural colored wools that was super soft, and it was even softer than the skein. I think once it had been washed, it was like really, really gorgeously soft. So yeah, I was kind of influenced by the sample. But yeah, all in all, the yarn choices were either very, very muted, or were just not muted at all. So a girl of extremes, what can I say? Yeah, that was everything on yarn. Not too much. I did spend most of my money, or like most of my time, I think, was in the sewing shops and like the craft stores. They have very, very good items in both. I could have bought a lot more. I think the thing with fabric is that it's really heavy, so I was quite cautious. I did my Nippori Fabric Town, my tomato fabric run at the beginning of the trip, and so I didn't go too crazy at that point, but then because I'd already done it, I didn't then go back. So it's probably a good strategy in that like I didn't really overbuy fabric. On terms of weight, I had the fabric in my suitcases, and I was just about on the weight limit. But I could have put the fabric in my hand luggage, and they don't generally weigh hand luggage. So I think I could have bought more if I wanted to, but I didn't, and I'm happy with what I have. I have also quite a large fabric stash, but I am sewing a lot more recently, and I think that you can get through fabric a lot quicker than you can get through yarn. I didn't feel so bad picking up everything that I did. So let's do the fabric cuts first and then we'll do notions. Although by far the best thing that I bought was my tomato tote bag. I love it. I'm gonna wear it everywhere. It's so cool. I'm kind of actually annoyed that it's in English. I wish it just said tomato like fabric store since 1986, but in Japanese. I think that would be way cooler. But yeah, it's still cool. I love this. I think it was 1,000 yen, 1,200 yen, so about £6. It's pretty reasonable for a tote bag. I think most like printed ones here are like £12 and up. So I felt like that was a good buy, and I'm very happy. Kept them all in their very crinkly plastic bags. Tomato in Napori Fabric Town. I should actually just put that down so that it doesn't make all the noise. Tomato in Napori Fabric Town. There are, I think, 4 different shops, or maybe more than that. There's the homeware, like homeware fabric style shop, so like all like very like upholstery fabrics, things like that. There's a notions shop. There's, okay, so no, it's more than that. There's 5. There's a 3-story main like shop. It may even be 4-story. That is sort of like mostly like cottons and fashion fabrics and things like that. There's the discount shop, which doesn't just have discount fabrics in it currently. It does have different things in there, but there's a lot of fabrics for, what is that, 100 yen a meter. So yeah, so very, very cheap fabric. And then the final one I think was closed when I was there, but it seemed to be like quilting weight cottons and like printed, American printed cottons and things like that. It didn't, I peeked my head in, but it was shut, or they were like renovating or something, but it didn't look super interesting to me, so I'm not too upset that I missed it. The first place that I bought something was definitely the discount place, because I thought I'd go there first before buying anything anywhere else. And I got 2 fabrics, very cute little receipts. Yeah, I wanted 5 meters of each, but it was the end of the bolt, so they only gave me about 4.4 meters on each fabric. So I paid about 400 odd yen for both fabrics, and so that's about £2. £2 for 4 and a bit meters of fabric, which is just insane. And they're very nice quality. There's a lot more neutrals, I'd say, in the discount, and a lot more like very basic fabrics, but they're still very, very lovely quality fabrics. This first one is just this like white, oh, it's a little bit stained. This like off-white, I want to say like cotton voile, very thin cotton. I asked them what the composition was, but they couldn't tell me because it was the discount fabric. But I would say just by feel that both of these are cotton. Maybe this one is a poly cotton, but I don't think so. I think they're both cotton. And this one, I don't know if you can see, it has this really beautiful like woven texture to it that's sort of like tartan. I think, and it's like a handkerchief weight. I think it would be really, really lovely as some kind of like summer top, summer dress, something with a lot of volume built into it. So like lots of pleats or lots of gathering. And yeah, it was just such a nice like basic fabric that I know that like I will reach for in my stash for such a good price. So yeah, I got this one, and then the second one is this printed, you know, now that I'm feeling it some more, I feel like there might be some polyester in this, which is kind of disappointing. But yeah, it's this printed stripe tartan. It's like very faintly yellow on an off-white sort of background. And yeah, again, another like 4 meters of this. I saw this top that wasn't Comme des Garçons. I think it was one of their diffusion lines, but in the Comme des Garçons shop, and it was a striped fabric but with like cartridge pleats, which I never would have thought to have done cartridge pleats with a striped fabric, but I thought that this potentially could be like a really good use for that, is some kind of like billowy top with hand sewn details that kind of emulates that one. So yeah, some very good fabrics there. Moving on to sort of the main like flagship Tomato shop. I bought a bit in there. I think I bought 3 different types of fabric. The first one, I was very influenced by Buried Diamonds fabric, Japan fabric haul, which I watched literally just before walking into all of these shops as a refresher. She is a sewist and used to work in the textile industry in New York, and so is very knowledgeable about like fabrics. And so I was like, okay, and her husband is also Japanese and she goes to Japan quite a lot, so I was like, okay, I want to get her a download of like information about Tomato. And she bought 2 different types of indigo dyed fabric, and so I bought 1 type of indigo dyed fabric accordingly. So this is what I got. It's wrapped in plastic because of the transfer. So indigo dyed fabric will transfer and will sort of like bleed onto other fabrics very easily. Kind of see like it's like a very dark blue, and it's just it almost shines with how dark it is, and it's this quite heavyweight cotton drill, or like cotton I want to say like cotton canvas. It's quite a heavyweight fabric, which may not be great for the thing that I thought about doing with it, but I think pre-washing it may soften it up quite a bit. I feel like there's quite a lot of the like dye residue still in it, and that's why it's still so stiff. I got 5 meters of this. It was incredibly cheap. I don't know why. It was so cheap. Yeah, if my records are correct, it was 380 yen per meter, meaning that I got the 5 meters for £10. Yeah, there was other indigo fabric that was a lot more expensive, but this one was quite cheap. I want to say it's because of the quality of the bottom, like of the actual fabric itself, is that it's just like a cotton canvas or maybe like a calico, and so that's why it's not priced higher. But I don't know. Anyway, I think maybe 5 meters was a little bit too much, but I was thinking of making like a kind of workwear inspired, maybe like lightly smocked denim smock, or like cotton smock that like a painter would wear, or like an artist, or I don't know, that kind of thing. So like kind of like a denim shirt, but with more details and a lot more workwear inspired. And I'd love to do some kind of, yeah, like very delicate hand sewn details on it, but it may be too thick for that. I also thought some form of like, what are they called? Like Haori, like crossover kimono style jackets. Maybe that's like lightly quilted. I think would be really lovely in this fabric particularly. But yeah, I'm very excited to use it. I think it will sit and stash for a while until I decided what the use of it is, and also how to wash it and like how to care for it. But yeah, I'm really excited that I got to pick that up. Finally, from Tomato, I got this made in Japan, printed. It's got, what are these called? Are they pansies? These flowers all over them. I thought it was a really original print. I haven't really seen a floral fabric with this print on it before, and I kept seeing these all over Japan, like planted in window boxes and things, and so yeah, I just fell in love with this fabric. It was, I want to say it was, I think I just didn't want to spend too much money yet, but I felt like it was on the more expensive side. I think it like ended up being around 880, 900 yen per meter, so about 450 per meter, which is not expensive by over here terms, but I think it was on the more expensive end of fabrics that I looked at, and so I was a little bit cautious. So I think I only got 2 meters of that, which honestly I might regret. I think I'm gonna regret that. I think it would make like a very beautiful, like quite detailed top or something like that. And I think I might struggle to get anything out of it with 2 meters. But yeah, I think I was feeling cautious at this point in the trip, and so I didn't get more. And then I got 2 meters of this knit fabric. I don't tend to buy knits, but it doesn't have a lot of stretch. It's a pretty just regular knit fabric, but I just really fell in love with the colors. It's got this like purple, yellow, and then there's like a light blue stripe running through it, I want to say. So you have to pay per floor on Tomato. So you pay every single time. You can't like bring the fabrics up and down and pay at the end. So you get all of these like little individual receipts. And this one, I think this one was discounted. It was 300 yen per meter, and I only got 2 meters. Which again I may regret, but I think for just like a striped t-shirt, like a long sleeve t-shirt, maybe with some interesting contrast like ribbing, I think it would be really cool, and I definitely have enough with 2 meters. And I think that I've been meaning to get into like knit fabric sewing for a while, and I haven't, but maybe this is a good opportunity too. I have a serger, I have everything you need, so like there shouldn't be an issue. That was everything I bought fabric wise in Tomato. Otherwise, in terms of fabric, I picked up this fabric, which is like very much a, you know, like Japan tourist souvenir kind of fabric, but I just fell in love with the little tigers. I got 2.5 meters of this, very random amount. Yeah, it's made in Japan. I got this in a fabric shop in Kyoto that I really, really liked. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but maybe when I go through the notions, I'll be able to tell you. But yeah, I just liked, I think I picked it up in like a fat quarter kind of sample. And I was going to buy the fat quarter, and then I realized that they did it on the bolt, and I was like, yeah, I think this would make really cute pajamas, maybe with some like contrast piping. You can kind of see my like buried diamond influences here again. She did a very similar thing where she bought like a cute patterned cotton and then made pajamas out of it with piping. So yeah, I might do something similar, but I just thought this guy was cute. And then in Osaka, I went to Yuzawaya, I think is what it's called, which is another fabric craft shop. This one, I think they have a version in Tokyo, but I didn't go to that one. And it had like all of these different departments. They did yarn, they did noro. I didn't pick up any yarn. And they did loads of different notions. And they also had a fabric counter. I saw some really beautiful Sanrio Liberty prints. They were so gorgeous. And still quite expensive, but I just couldn't stop. I left and I came back like a couple of days later to get this. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. It's just a polka dot cotton, 100% cotton, not even that heavyweight. It's just like almost like a quilting cotton, and it's made in Japan. But yeah, it just kept consuming me. Again, I think because I was looking at all of this Comme des Garçons stuff, and there's so many polka dots in Comme des Garçons. There's also like a lot of polka dots in like fashion at the moment. So I think I was just like really on some kind of polka dot kick. And I couldn't stop thinking about this. So I bought 4 meters of it. Overall, I spent 3,000 yen on the 4 meters, which is about £15, which is very, very good. And the lady, I think she was like, sign up for a membership card. If you get a membership card, you get the membership price, which again is like slightly cheaper. So now I have a Yuzawaya membership card, which I'm sure will come in handy. I don't know what I'll make with this. I was thinking it would make a really cool like kind of like barrel shaped coat, like kind of like a trench, but because it's a cotton, it won't be trench like fabric. I could maybe like flatline it to make it a bit thicker. And then I was also thinking of like spraying some kind of like rain coating or like something on it to make it a little bit more weatherproof. I think it would be a really beautiful like light spring coat, but I think if it was just cotton, I don't know if that would work. Also, this is the type of fabric that like a black cotton that my dog's hair sticks to like so badly. So really it's a terrible idea, but I had to have it. But if I don't make that, then I think something like a Comme des Garçons inspired dress I think would be quite cool. Again, like for like a summery piece, I think would be quite nice. Yeah, there we go. And then notions. Notions is where I probably did the most amount of damage. There are so many beautiful notions in all the fabric crafty shops around Japan. Some very, very beautiful quality stuff. There's a lot of clover and a lot of like brands you'll recognize, but the prices are really good, and I think I often struggle to find things like buckles and like hardware and stuff like that that's good quality at home. And it's all like made in China, gonna break tomorrow style stuff that I find. And though this stuff might be made in China also, I think it's just like of a slightly higher quality. So yeah, I bought quite a lot of notions. It's not just that there's so much better quality, I think just the selection is just so good that yeah, it becomes very hard to resist. So lots and lots of notions. Okay, let's try to vaguely do it in order. In Okadaya, which is the 4-level craft store in Shinjuku, I got some small notions. I got these clasps and buckles, like D-rings and buckles, primarily for dungarees. I always really struggle to find hardware for dungarees that are good quality. I think the last dungarees that I made, I really didn't like the hardware that I used on them at all. So I thought whilst I saw them, I should pick them up. I got this really stupid patch. This ruler, like craft ruler, just because I've kind of started to like vaguely collect wooden rulers. I bought this one in a charity shop recently that like folds out and is all like fancy, and I have like a whole little section of like rulers, so I thought that this one was really cute. It's Japanese bamboo, it's made in Japan, I don't think it was that expensive, and it was just, you know, just like a beautiful object. So yeah, I felt like that had to come home with me. In the Tomato Notions shop, I got a few bits. Firstly, I got this like little charm pack of fabrics. The only reason that I got this charm pack, and like these are the fabrics that come in them, they're kind of like this like viscosy, like almost like kimono style fabric weight. The only reason is because I saw this fabric and I looked everywhere in the shop for this in like full format, because I was like, I just want to buy this and make 1,000 things with it. Like, it's so cool. The orange and the light green and the tigers probably makes more sense like this. And I saw this little bit like peeking out, and I asked them in the shop, I was like, do you have this in the full bolt? But no, they didn't have it. So I bought the tiny scrap, and I don't know what I'll do with it, but I will find something cool to do with it. And obviously it came with these like other little bits, which sure, fine, whatever. That was 400 yen, I think, for the pack. And then I don't know, they just have like such cool little bits. Like, I got these zips, which are, I've now realized, different lengths. This one's a short one. And these ones are longer ones, and they're just plastic zips, but they're all like contrast colors. I just thought they were really, really fun. Oh yeah, so this one was like 143 yen with tax, so 75p, like, and they're all YKK zippers as well, so like they're really good quality, and I just liked them. They can go in my zipper stash. Maybe I'll use them for like a pouch or something like that, something fun in the future. And these very silly little carabiners, they were like neon carabiners. I really want to get into like bag charms and like adding things to my bag, and I think like a fun carabiner is definitely an essential to doing that kind of thing. So yeah, I picked these up. They were 110 yen each, so again like 50p. Then this was the fabric shop in Kyoto, where I by far picked up the most stuff in terms of notions. This fabric shop did have really good, like a really good Sashiko section, so it had loads of the different booklets, and then it had Sashiko threads. I got these two, which they're the Olympus brand, yeah. So this one is like maple leaves on like a river, very very cute, a bit more involved, like a bit more like pictorial, whereas this one is just like a very simple sort of like regular Sashiko stitch. I think the thing that surprised me is that the fabric samplers on the back are quite a big scale, so like you really have to have the piece to fill this. I already have like a Daruma Sashiko sampler in my stash somewhere that I've always been meaning to use, and so I'm happy that I have these three. I think I want to make a couple of things using Sashiko stitch soon, and incorporating some of the like more vintage fabrics that I got. So yeah, so I thought these were handy to have anyway, and you can buy these here, but I think it's just always going to be a lot cheaper. I think these were about, I say like 400 yen each, and they're about like £2 per thing. So I've bought the Daruma ones, and the Daruma one I think I paid like €6 or €7 for it, maybe more. So yeah, and then to go with that, I got some Sashiko threads. These are all the Olympus brand. I just really liked their packaging and the sort of colors that they did. I think these ones I got in the wholesale shop in Tokyo later on, because I realized I probably needed some more colors. I just really liked the like orangey red of this one, and then this like yellow I thought would be quite good. But to start with, I literally just got an off-white and a navy, because I figured like this on the indigo fabric would be great, for like something low contrast, and then the white is just like, you're going to use it at some point. So I picked up some of those. Again, Sashiko thread is something you can buy here, but they were very very cheap, so I picked those up at the same time. In this shop I really liked their fat quarters, so I got this sort of like Marimekko style, this one with poppies, this like very simple floral one, and then this like more advanced floral one. I'm not a big quilter, but I do like to have these little like scraps of like fabrics imprints that I like. I think they can be really handy for like scrapwork projects, or you know, to have like a really special element like on a pocket or something like that, and then maybe one day I'll make a quilt, you never know. I bought this rickrack. It was really cheap. It's 30 meters of rickrack. I really liked the color. It's like quite a bright orange, and I have no immediate use for this, but I just thought it was really really nice to have, and I love using rickrack. And then I got these, which it's just, they were 300 yen, and they're just a pack of like dangly bits, like 100 dangly things for you to put like keychains and stuff on. I just think this would be really handy. They have like little tiny what are they called, like rings on them, so yeah, I thought that would be good for like attaching stuff to bags, and it's so cheap and they looked really good quality that I was just like, I think this is a really handy thing to have in your stash. And then in Osaka I went to a shop called 999+1, and they mostly specialize in like zippers. They have like a whole zipper counter, and you can like personalize your own zipper, make your own zipper to the length that you need, and using all the fastenings that you need. But they had a load of really, really beautiful notions. They had really nice buttons. They had like little fabric scraps. I predictably got some more zippers. I got these like brightly colored ones. These are slightly different. So they have 3 different colors instead of 2. I just thought they were really, really fun. They were 253 yen each. So £1.25. They don't have the rings, the same one as the other bright colored ones do. They just have these zippers, but they just felt so hefty and like just really good quality. And I thought like this on like something for the kids, I think would be just really fun. This I thought was like the perfect denim zip for a pair of jeans. It's got this like denim fabric on this bit, and it was like a little brass YKK zipper, just really nice quality. If I'm making a pair of jeans in the future, I think it's a 9-inch, 20 centimeters. Is that 9 inch? Is that the right size for a pair of jeans? It might be a bit long, but still, I thought it was really, really cute, 200 yen. And then I got 2 packs of these dungaree clips, which I couldn't, in Okadaya, I couldn't find to go with these in the same finish. I couldn't find the same, I couldn't find the dungaree clips to go with these. I think, are these the same width? I think they're the same width. I think they'll go nicely. This is more like a brushed silver, and this is more just like a regular silver, but they just felt like so much better quality than the ones I've used in the past. So yeah, I had to pick these up. They were 300 yen per pack, and you get 2 per pack. So you can make 2 pairs of dungarees for £3. Okay, and then in Usawaya, they had some really good notions. I got some double fold knit tape. I'm assuming this is for like the bias binding that's on t-shirts, or yeah, like little like knit pointel t-shirts. It was this adorable like cream and black polka dot. You know how I feel about polka dots. Straight away I fell in love with this. I don't think it will go, I think it's maybe too small to go with this. But I thought it was good to have if I ever pick up like any like cotton pointel to make kind of like those like underlayer thermal t-shirts. I think this would be like a good thing to use on one of those. And then they had like a really cute carabiner section. They had like these ones which have all of these little dots on them. They were so cute. And then these ones which were flowers, and they're like sort of like spray painted different colors. Yeah, just really adorable carabiners. You can't really go wrong. Because I was thinking about that coat idea, I saw these, which are not a like new concept. They're to make fabric covered buttons. But I've never seen them, you can get them over here, but I've never seen them in metal. I've only ever seen them in plastic. And I just thought that these seemed like really, really good quality. I think the way it works is that you buy the pack with the pop thing, the thing that sets it in place, and then you can buy the refill packs afterwards. So I got one of each in the same size, but I thought these would be really good with that polka dot fabric if I made that coat style thing. And I didn't get more because they were relatively expensive. I think they were like in the 600 yen range per pack, which I thought was quite high, so I just got these. But then I was in Daiso and I found them in Daiso for like 100 yen per pack. So I got a pack of big ones, I got a pack of small ones. I thought I got more packs than that, but yeah, I got some more of those because I thought they'd be really handy. And I'm just really into like the metal ones. I don't know if you can get those here, but I've never seen them, so I'm into it. And whilst we're on Daiso, I picked up loads of these little, like, what are they called? Just like metal clips. I use these for like closing crisp packets and things in the kitchen. I prefer them to those like plastic things. So I just thought I'd get some really cheap ones because why not? There's some coloured ones in there, but most of them are metal. They're just really handy to have. Got these absolutely ridiculous cable clip things, like cable organizers, because I'm usually always running around with a load of cables in my bag and it's really frustrating. So they were cat shaped, they were 100 yen. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Okay, I low-key regret buying this. I bought this like weird bat. I think the thing that made me laugh so much was that they called it an unidentified mysterious animal, and I'm like, I think it's just a bat, guys. But they also had a Shinkansen patch. Some of these might be Syria. I'm not sure if it's Syria or Daiso. But yeah, they had a Shinkansen patch, so I also got one of those. I have a jacket that I like, a Levi's like denim jacket that I wear in the summer that has a bunch of patches from places I've traveled in it. I don't have that many patches on it yet, but I'd like to eventually like fit up the whole jacket. So I do try and pick up patches when I find them. So this one I think will be funny. And then I also got this vintage patch, which is actually American. Southern Florida Council Circus World. I just thought it was really, really, I just liked the graphic design of it. But yeah, they were selling a load of like vintage Americana patches at a garage sale, so I picked that up at the same time. So lots of patches. Okay, let's stay on crafty notions. I went to near the Miyuki bead factory in Kanda and near the Kanda craft shop. There's a whole street, actually also close to, it's called Itoriko, which is another yarn shop, which I didn't buy anything in. But they have a lot of yarn on cones also. On that street, they have a ton of little like mini craft stores, and some of them are more beading focused. I think a couple of them are more beading focused, but they also have like different craft stores along there. And I picked up quite a bit in one called Kiwa Inc. It's the name of their email address anyway. But yeah, along that street. These things that I picked up you can buy in actually quite a lot of the craft stores, especially these like beaded bonsai kits by Nejite. I saw them, in fact, I think they're made by Miyuki Beads. Or no, maybe the beads are produced by Miyuki, but the actual company is Nejite? I don't know. But you can find them, I saw them in loads of different shops, loads of different craft shops, so you can definitely find them in multiple places. I was like, I don't think these are that interesting and I didn't want to buy them. I don't really love like a craft kit. I'm not really into that kind of thing. But then I think I just kept seeing them, and then I was in the Miyuki bead factory and they had a bunch of the different ones sold out, and I was like, oh, I kind of want the ones that are sold out. So then I actually found them in the other shop along that street in Kanda, and this one wasn't sold out, but this one was. They're little kits to make these little bonsai. Useless objects, absolutely no purpose at all, but so cute. And I thought as well, like, once you have the instruction manual, like, sure, okay, you won't have the little like ceramic vase thing, but once you have the instruction manual, you could just buy beads and like make them again, right? And do different colors and stuff. So these were relatively expensive. I think these were like 2,200 yen per, which is about £10. So decently expensive. This one's a gift, and then this one is for me. And then in that same shop, I got this, which is a kit to make this like beaded fish banner thing. These are all over the game Okami. Really reminded me of that, and I just thought this one was really, really fun. It comes with the beads. I could have also bought the beads myself, I guess, but yeah, this was 2,500 yen, so £12. And then I also got this little instruction kit so it doesn't include the beads, but it has these like little individual fish banners. And I just thought they were so cute. I think this would be a really cool little keychain, and like a fun little evening of crafting. I've never done this like bead cross stitch. This is essentially cross stitch but with beads. I've never done this before, so I don't know if it'll be any good, but yeah, this little pack was 50 yen, so I was like, okay. I do have a lot of glass beads, like seed beads, so I can definitely like continue to make more things like this. Yeah, it was a cute shop. You should go in the bead shops, they're really fun. In the markets, I picked up kimono, like kimono offcuts. This first one is from the it's the Oi race course Tokyo flea market, so the really big flea market. I have to say I found that it wasn't my favorite, that flea market. It felt quite commercialized, and I only picked up a few pieces, but I think it's kind of a good market in that it will have something for everybody. There really is like a huge range of different stuff, whereas the ones that are held in shrines are often more just like antiques and things. But yeah, I wasn't that impressed by the Oi Racecourse flea market, but I got this roll of kimono style fabric, offcut, which I think it's silk. I think it's like a silk barrette. I could have got more. These weren't that expensive, but these were the colors that I liked. Yeah, I was on the lookout for like old kimonos, vintage kimonos, and like kimono style fabrics. I definitely wanted to buy like a kimono that I would cut up and like turn into a bomber jacket. I've seen that done on Instagram. I was definitely in the market for that kind of thing. I think in the end, I didn't get that many because I didn't find patterns that I really resonated with, like patterns on the fabrics of kimonos. You know, I think I'll go again. I think there will be other opportunities to buy vintage kimonos, and yeah, I just didn't want to bring back stuff that without really being in love with it, if that makes sense. Also at the Oi Racecourse flea market, absolutely fell for this one. So it's this like orange with wave and dots. It's absolutely stunning. It has a few stains. I definitely need to like do some work on it. But yeah, I absolutely fell in love with this one. The quality of it is just gorgeous. So I paid 1,000 yen for this. You can definitely find kimonos that are 500 yen or under. I was gonna get on my high horse and be like, you know, like it helps to pay a little bit extra if you if it's a better quality or if you really like the fabric, like don't just buy the cheapest things. But then I went back to the stall later on in the day and they were actually selling all of the 1,000 yen kimonos for 500 because it was later in the day. So I'm gonna get off that horse and say buy kimonos for whatever price that you want to buy them for. But yeah, I love this. I don't think I'm gonna cut it up unless I can't get rid of any of the stains, but it's actually not that stained at all. I think it's in a really good nick. I think I'm either just gonna like hang it or wear it as like a dressing gown. It's just really, really beautiful piece. And it's just everything that I love, like the orange and the spots and I'm so happy with this. And I didn't see anything else like this anywhere else. So yeah, I'm really happy that I found this one. I went to an antique fair in a very similar location to the Oi Racecourse flea market. You had to take the monorail to get to it, and it was in this like convention center style building. And they had like a lot of more expensive antiques, but they did have a stand full of like vintage kimonos and things like that. They had quite a lot of kimonos. And I fell in love with this. So this is a hand painted silk kimono with this absolutely beautiful like frieze on it. Has some wear. I actually think like along the back there actually where like it's been painted, probably where they put like the chemicals and the fabric's been weakened a little bit. There's some holes along it. And actually, yeah, it's really like ripping along here. So there's definitely some damage, but it's just a stunning, stunning piece. I'm gonna have to do some form of cutaway, but it was so stunning. Like the depth and the darkness of this fabric with this like really delicate silk painting. Just incredible. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. I would love to turn it into something, maybe turn it into something wearable. It has all of this damage, so I will have to figure out what to do. It was 3,000 yen, which is £15. Definitely worth it for just how special this piece is. And yeah, I'm just happy that I didn't get a bunch of like really cheap kimonos. You can also find them in like thrift stores. So at the Tampopo house, they sell them, quite a lot of them, for very cheap. And I almost bought one, and then I noticed it had moth holes all over it. So definitely do keep an eye out for moths, especially on the heavier wool kimonos. I think they're wool. They're like some kind of like wool suiting fabric. Those ones can get moth holes really, really easily. So yeah, do keep an eye out for that. I wasn't thinking about that until I actually like checked it over. And I'm really happy I didn't buy it and then infect everything with moths. And then in one of the shrine flea markets, I picked up all of these silk offcuts, silk kimono offcuts. These stink a bit. They definitely need a wash, which is why they're in the plastic bag, but I got 7 of them. And they were, I think it was like 3 for 1,000 yen, but I got 7 for 2,000 yen, so spent 10 quid in total. A lot of them are quite stained as well, but I think these would have come off. This is what I think of like when I read like Memoirs of a Geisha, and like they do all of those really beautiful descriptions of like the original kimono. Like this is the kind of intricacy that like I really associate with old style Japan, like old style like geisha Japan. I think like varying lengths as well. This one's a lot longer. This one, these are fans with cherry blossom print on them, and I think these are also hand painted. I don't know. I don't think I know enough about like kimono craftsmanship to really tell. This one I really loved. It's like storks or cranes. This one's cotton, it's not silk, but I just thought the fabric was really funny. It's all of these like chicks, like little baby chicks, in this bright pink. God, these are gonna need such a bath. This one I thought was stunning. Yeah, and then this is another like shorter one. So a good like little mix of colors and patterns there. I was thinking of making something quilted or patchwork. Maybe not all of them in the same garment together, but definitely for some patchwork I think would be really fun. But yeah, I'm definitely going to need to do some like treatment because they stink. Okay, no, not quite done on crafts. First of all, at the very end of the trip, I went back to Kababashi Street, Kitchen Town, kitchenware supply street, and I found Kai fabric scissors, which I looked for in every single craft shop and couldn't find any sign of. They did lots of really beautiful fabric shears, but they didn't do Kai. I don't know if Kai is less respected in terms of fabric shears there, because I thought these were cheaper than the ones in some of the fabric shops that I was looking at. But I knew I was looking for Kai because that's what Berry Diamond uses and recommends. And yeah, I was surprised that you couldn't buy them in craft stores, but they sell Kai in knife shops, and then usually there's a section in the back for like hobby craft stuff, which I didn't know. So if I'd have known I could have just bought them in Kababashi Street, I wouldn't have searched high and low. I also went to like Loft and Hands, which are more like variety department store shops, thinking that they might be there, and I couldn't find them there. Most of the time you can just order them online, which is I think what most people do, but I didn't want to order anything to my hotel. So yeah, I bought a pair of fabric shears, all of that to say. I got the 7000 series stainless steel tailoring shears for professional use. They're not pretty, they're just fabric shears, but I hear they're just beautiful to cut with, and once you use them you never go back. They're 250 millimeters. I think this was like the in-between size. There was a bigger size and then there was a lot of like smaller sizes, but I think for my usage I think this is fine. I think the bigger was kind of overkill, and I definitely wouldn't have wanted anything smaller. So these were 9,900 yen, so about 50 quid. I think that's very reasonable for really high quality fabric shears. I think you can also send them off to Kai to get them sharpened. I'm a little bit concerned about what that would cost in terms of like the shipping. I don't know if they cover the shipping themselves, and I don't know if you had to have bought them online to have some kind of like receipt or something. I don't know how that works, so I'll have to look into that. But for now, I think like I don't sew enough that I think that I'm going to be needing to sharpen them anytime soon. Yeah, and I'm just really happy that I was able to pick these up. I've used the same pair of like Amazon fabric shears since I started sewing, so I'm happy to upgrade. I'm really happy I picked up a pattern book. In every craft shop that I was in, I looked at their selection of these and I looked at a load of different ones. I just really love Japanese sewing pattern designers. I have like this whole like wish list file on Amazon, which is like full of all of these like Japanese sewing authors, and I never bite the bullet because they're relatively expensive like per book to buy. But I just really usually like all of the styles that they sell, and I just love like the designs. And I think it's hard with these like sewing pattern books, like booklets, to get ones where you really want to sew like everything that's in it. Usually the patterns are quite simple and you're like, okay, why am I like, I don't need a very oversized sack, you know, very simple pattern. They call it the Heartwarming Life series, and I looked at this one, and then there was another edition that I looked at, but I didn't buy it because it had very similar patterns to the ones in this one. Just have some like very cool design elements. This one is all pin tucks, which is really, really cool. Oh, the thing that really sold me on it was the sailor collar. Just some really interesting patterning, stuff that I think would be really like pattern hackable. And they're really reasonable. This was 1,760 yen, approximately like £8. For the amount of patterns that you get and how expensive sewing patterns usually are, I think this is a really, really good deal. So I picked this one up. If I'd have seen more that were like my style, I would have bought more of these. I think they were really good. I also bought this Pattern Magic book, which I think is very similar to one I've seen and saved on Amazon before, that's all about like pattern manipulation. And it's all like very like high concept stuff. I don't know how much I'll actually be using it. I think in particular there's this like ruched section, or like this like pleated section that I think it would be really cool to get integrated into a garment. And it's just really, really fascinating. Like, this is the kind of sewing that really interests me. It's not necessarily patterns, it's just showing you how to manipulate the fabric. So you can probably apply it to like a bodice block and not necessarily need to have the patterns, which is fine. Also, yes, these are in Japanese, but I think with like, it comes with, I'm not sure I can take them out, but it comes with these sewing patterns. And I think once you have the patterns, I think these are actually not to scale. I think you have to scale them up using a printer or something, which is fine. I can totally do. But yeah, I don't think, I think I will struggle to read the instructions, but I think when it comes to using patterns, like if you have the pattern and you have a basic idea of like how things go together, you don't necessarily need instructions. I may struggle a little bit, but I'm willing to sort of take that extra effort. And there's always Google Translate, right? And then finally, this one I picked up in the wholesale shop, the Kanda Craft store. This is a book of smocking techniques. I've been really getting into smocking recently, and every time I go to smock something, I'm like, oh, I would love to see some examples of like really beautiful smocking designs, but and I start to look on Pinterest and stuff, but I don't really see anything that inspires me. And I was just looking through this and I was like, this is super inspirational. So yeah, just really cute. It's mostly picture based. So again, I think it's completely fine that it's in Japanese. And like it has all of these diagrams and stuff. I don't think you need to understand the language to be able to use them. This means that I need to get like a pleater so that I can pleat things all the time. Okay, I think that's it on like fabricy, crafty, sewing-y notion stuff. Hello, it's night, Nadia of the night. I'm editing this here video. If I put everything in it, we're currently tracking at 1 hour and 41 minutes, which there's only one person that's allowed to make videos that long, and that's Jenny Nicholson, or ContraPoints, actually. So we're gonna split it into not 2, but 3 parts. One for the crafty stuff, one for the ceramics, kitchen stuff, souvenirs, that kind of thing. Just like the Gen Pop stuff, if you will. And then one for the thrifting. I hope that's okay. Feel free to watch all of them, or just one of them, or none of them. But yeah, we're gonna end this one here. More to come soon. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Okay, bye. 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 Oh no, I've woken the beast. I've woken the beast. Okay, bye.